Okay, now today onwards we will discuss on the GRSC business role management. Okay, as of now, we have discussed access risk analysis and emergency access management. These two are powerful tools which may GRC is one of the emerging tool in the market because currently we are discussing on the role management, that is normal role administration. We just automate the process, whatever the manual activities to create the role as a security administrator. Same thing, we were automizing the process. But whatever we have already discussed, we need to perform. And risk analysis, it is we have a different controls, or we need to dependent on third party tool to perform the risk analysis. For emergency access management, we need to take high level approval manually, and we will add additional role assignments. Then manually we need to extract the logs, and we need to send for the reviewer. Once the reviewer confirms, or in case he asks for any justification or extract some other logs, we need to capture those logs as well. So it's a manual process, but with help of GRC, that was automized. Similarly, whatever the role administration, that is going to automate. BRM is also a very powerful tool, and also there are some drawbacks. Even though it is a powerful tool for role administration, there are some drawbacks. Because of that, still 90% of companies they won't implement BRM because of, again, it needs to depend on the role administration. That is the reason we will cover whatever the concepts, maximum configuration steps, but whatever the steps which is required for ARM, we will cover. Rest of the other stuff, probably configuration stuff, you need to go through Subhasar YouTube channel, so that for knowledge purpose you can go through all the concepts. But the basic configuration, and which is related to ARM especially, we will cover almost 90%. But since we are not going another 10%, we will not, actual environments we will not implement, but we will, good to know the complete configuration steps, how we will implement and how we will use the BRM, and how we will automate the complete process. So business role management, first we'll go through the role management. So the business role management component is one of the GRC solution, automate the role definition and complete management of roles. So generally, as a security consultant, uh, we'll collect the complete requirement, and we'll create the role. Then we'll perform some testing, and we'll move to the production system. Similar way, we will the strategy for the automation, and all the controls were implemented, and whatever the necessary steps which is required to create the role, all steps are configured. Then we'll start working on the business role management as well. So it provides SAP security administrators, role designers and role owners with a simplified means of documentation and maintaining important role information. So generally the actors, we consider as actors, security administrator, he will create the role, and role designer, like a business business team, he will give the requirements. I need these transaction codes. We need to develop role, and this is my requirement, and this level of restriction, that everything a business development team, or a role designer. Similarly, while before creating the role, we need to take the approval from the role owner. The same process we can maintain in the GRC system as well with appropriate documents. Like before creating the role, we will prepare one document, business development or business matrix or role matrix, everything for audit purpose. So similarly, we will maintain the document as a repository and will take the approval, auto approval. And role attributes are the details to define the role during the role definition and creation process. Okay, role attributes. Generally, role attributes means the role name and type of the role, and whether it is a role is a critical or a basic role, or on which project base we are creating the role, and which company. Like we have a different regions. It is a region based or country code based, or some company defined controlling area based on the company definitions will create. So that is also one of the attribute. And what authorizations will provide for users versus role matrix. So all these are comes under role attributes. So similarly, we will also develop the same manual process, whatever we are doing, same process we will maintain in the GRC system. So during the configuration, to determine the values of the each attribute and then assign or input the defined attributes when you create the role. So it's a configuration. We'll create the predetermined value. Since it is a manual process, if it is a new value, then we will prepare the new template. Since it is an automation process, during the configuration itself, we'll perform the configuration steps, whatever the necessary values. So that we'll select the drop down as a drop down while creating the role. So generally, we'll use one use case like role management is undertaking while supporting a solution, especially for multiple landscape. Also, business role management. As of now, we discussed the complete role management, but there is a business role management concept. So the business role management, as of now, we are creating the roles either a single, derived, or composite based on our necessity. We are creating a particular system, but the business role that fulfills the requirement for multiple systems or multiple landscape. Considering ECC is one landscape, SRM is one landscape, portal is one landscape. So SAP has come with the concept business role management to fulfill one business role. It will by assigning or by collecting. The definition should be collecting and assigning through multiple landscapes. That concept is developed in the GRC system as a central repository for all the systems to connect it to GRC system within the complete landscape. So we discussed probably 1 minute to understand better. I have a slide for you like this. So we have a ECC, MDG, SRM system. Different systems. Each system is a different landscape. So now business role management, SAP comes with concept of business role management. That business role will fulfill or will collect the complete role GRC system. For ECC, MDG, each individual system are one role for all the systems which are existing in the landscape. Any questions? Any system, any. So I'm just maintaining only few systems, but any of the system, one business role, the definition would exist in the GRC system. We'll discuss more details on upcoming sessions, but since it is an overview, so by this diagram you will understand just an overview. It could be any system, portal, SAP, non-SAP systems, everything. I'll come to that. That is the only drawback. So that is a primary drawback, which a BRM system will not implement 90% of the companies, because we are creating the role, but again we need to depend on the one of the change management process, normal, either a charm or revtrack or any other third party tools, a manual process from development to quality to production. So because of that, SAP most of the companies, they won't implement BRM. But by using the business role management or role management process, we'll make sure that the naming, proper naming conventions we will define. Suppose my single role is starts with Y. My derived role, sorry, YS is the single role. It should starts with YS, and YD is the derived role, and ZC is the composite role. I'm just giving overview. So if it is a manual means, probably there is a zigzag. If I don't know the complete process, probably I'll start with customization. I'll start with YC. But since it is a system already automized, we configured, so it will automatically populate the, while I just click on the composite role, automatically it will starts with ZC. So there is a constant convention. Make sure system, it will automatically make sure that proper naming convention, and it will track the status. Like suppose we are sending approvals manually, we are waiting for the design document. We have developed design document, and we are sending, and the approver is on leave. So we are sending follow-ups, and also we are sending mails to backup approver. So the email tracking is very difficult. But since it is a tool, automatically it will send the reminder. We'll configure that. So the, the status of the role maintenance is very easy. And since it is a central repository, we don't need to re-import the role. As of now, most of the companies, they will create the role in backend ECC system, and template. That template will be imported into GRC system to make this central repository. But in the BRM process, we will initiate the role from GRC system and will create some methodology steps, configuration steps. Automatically, each process, that role will move to stages for approval. As soon as it is approved, then automatically it will be available in the GRC system. So it won't allow the duplicate, and as well as it will, we can extract some reports whether we have developed a role but we have not assigned to you. Like you may remember action usage, role usage, reports. Will execute the background jobs. Based on the reports, we'll check whether any roles that cannot assigned, and that role we have created long time, but that role will not use it for any other purpose. So we'll deactivate the role or will delete the role from the repository. So that also very easy for the BRM. So any questions? Which one? Which one? Okay, BRM, right? You were saying. Okay, okay. You need see whatever the points here we maintained, right? The same point we are going to discuss. Okay, because you need to understand the naming convention. Then probably I need to move to almost 10 slides later. You will understand one of the configuration step. But I'll definitely answer all your questions. This is a workflow. This is one of the configuration step. This is one of the configuration step. These two are role initiation steps. Okay. I will give you the complete high level. You can make it consider as a high level as of now. But as of now, you can keep it part your questions. But you will come to know probably by end of this session, like BRM sessions. Okay. But I'll keep on update you whenever the situation came, right, like the particular slide. I'll give you the details. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, or you still required any more information? Okay. Okay, I'm moving on to the normal role management process. Okay, generally a role designer, he will develop the business document and make sure that the need and approach the complete to fulfill the requirement. Then he will reach out the security team for the role definition, and in case if required perform risk analysis. Then they will use the risk analysis and role approver, get the once the development completed, then take the approval, then generate the role, then perform the UAT from the getting the sign off from the business team is available for the production system. That is, that might be a job, that might be a task, that might be any single role or composite role, anything. Similarly, like this is a normal process, but to manage the risk, SAP BRM, you whether you have remember or not, ARA is the common repository. We discussed on the get clean GRC implementation methodology, get clean, stay clean, stay in control. So the common factor, the common integration component is ARA module. So that ARA module will integrate all the other GRC components like ARM, BRM, and EAM. So we'll make sure that the system is risk free. So that point we discussed here. So one of the advantage with the BRM is will manage the risk. So generally the normal process is we will create the role and will perform the risk analysis, then we'll come to know, okay, this has these many high level risk or low level risk or medium risk. Based on that we will plan for the remediation or mitigation. But BRM, while creating the role itself, will it will show the conflicts, intra conflicts. You within the role itself. Sorry, within the role itself, it will show the conflicts. So that information, like while adding the transaction code to the role itself, it will display the risk analysis result. So that will before creating the role itself, will remove the transaction codes, will avoid the duplication of work. Duplication means we created the role, once we identified, then again we need to modify the role. That work will not required through BRM. This is one of the advantages, major advantages of the BRM tool. But whatever the configurations we performed, again the role needs to move to development to production. That is normal process, or it needs on any other tool like a RevTrack or Charm or manual process. So that is the reason companies would prefer. Again, they will do like after creating the role, they will perform the risk analysis. If they find any any conflicts, based on that, they will take a remediation plan or mitigation plan, so that the role will move to across the landscape. Also, the configuration, the generate based on the target system and availability for provisioning. So to understand this point, configuration enabled presence and generated role in the target system determine the availability for provisioning means. And also last 2 points, system specific role availability for provisioning subject to validity dates. These 2 points you need to understand by this diagram, because in general the SAP landscape like this: GRC development to ECC development means development GRC system to development individual systems. Majority of the companies will follow this strategy. But when we plan to implement BRM in the landscape, we need to go to this design. Then only we will reduce our work. So the GRC production system will be integrated to development systems, quality systems, and production systems. Okay, all the systems in the landscape. I have mentioned only very few, but I mean to say all the systems in the landscape, meaning the SAP, non-SAP, HANA, portal, ECC, MDG, SRM, CRM, all the systems will first connected to GRC production system. So the GRC will initiate the role in the GRC production system like a definition. Whenever creating the role, automatically this GRC production system will go to ECC development system if it is a system specific role. ECC development system PFCG screen. Again, we will create like authorization role creation and authorization maintenance in the ECC development system. Once that is completed, then the request will trigger to approval in the GRC system for approval. But the core authorization, maintenance and everything will be performed on ECC development. I mean development systems only. That is what here explained. Provisions generated roles in the target system determines the availability of provision. So whatever the roles we want to provision, so we will generate the roles in that particular target system so that it will be available for provisioning. Also, we'll create system specific role for provisioning, meaning we will create the individual business roles or individual system roles or combination of system roles through BRM. I'll stop here. Any questions? Single derived composite. Anything. Anything. Only business role. Right now, I'm not much go on business role level because that is completely existing in the GRC system. The definition. Okay. You were asking while creation or while creating the role or while assigning the role. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So here two things. Okay. Consider first single role level. Okay. For each system, individual system. For each individual system, there is a role content approver is there. Okay. We need to maintain role content approvers while creating the role itself. It will take the approval from role content approver. As soon as he will, like a normal process. See, here the role designer is there, right? Role design team. He will action like uh, a role content approver. Okay, he will initiate and he will verify while creating the role. Okay, if we want to assign the role for users for provisioning, then we'll take the approval from the role owner, assignment owner. You understand my point? During That's what I'm saying. See, if it is a business role, each process, definitely there is a identified one role approver. Okay, that is either a process wise or assignment wise. That is one of the master data we will maintain. Okay, based on the system, probably we will maintain the role approvers in the workflow. Suppose a ECC system based on the connector will identify the role owner. If it is a business role level, then the business role content approvers is a different. Okay. So everything is a predefined master data, right? Like we need to know like system wise or process wise, each business process wise. Based on that, we will configure in the system. Automatically the approval and notifications will send to the respective, either a business, composite or single, anything. No, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. See, you are asking if it is a multiple systems, whether it will go. See, that depends. If we have maintained individual approvers, then it will go to individual approvers. Or probably at the business role level, we'll maintain only one approver. Business role type is a business, our condition, then automatically it will go to one approver, particular approver. Yeah, that depends. But here the concept is, if we want to implement BRM, so the landscape, you have to maintain this landscape, not this landscape. There is a difference. GRC to dev, Q to QA, production to production. This is a normal landscape generally. But if you want to maintain or if you want to implement BRM, then this is a landscape structure you need to design, because you will initiate the roles from GRC production system through individual development systems. Okay. So your GRC system must integrate with the development systems for creating the roles. Also, it will be integrated dev, QA and production system for provisioning. So it can help both. Developers must be integrated for creating. Dev, QA and production system will be for provisioning, both. No, yes. And one more thing, first we'll discuss a single, composite and derived roles. Okay. We'll come to business role later, because that is completely, the definition is existing only on GRC system. First we'll try to adopt, like try to check the process. What is the normal process? How we are going to configure in the GRC, like a process of automation. Then we'll discuss on the business role. That is the only role template. That is just only definition. Business role. We'll prepare the template for associated multiple systems based on the landscape we will assign. But before going to business role, we will discuss on the process of automation, how we will use the BRM tool to create the roles. No, it's a central repository. Yeah, like, yeah, it doesn't have any repository on the backend systems. Based on the data from the backend system, we will create the repository in the GRC system. So might be terminology, it may take some time, but once we will go through the complete definitions, right? Like the complete sessions, probably you will understand. Yes. So this is only for the business role BRM implementation landscape. If we don't use BRM, then even though we need to create some of the configurations like role attributes, type of roles, role sensitivity, company, business process, sub process, all the necessary information, right, which is required to import the role status, arg values, everything. We need to whatever the configuration which is required for ARM, everything we need to configure in the system. Even we need to set the parameters as well. We need to perform connector configuration because we are going to anyway perform the configuration, right? Authorization integration scenario, ROLMG, will discuss next. So we need to configure the same steps configuration wise. But additionally, we will develop some of the methodology steps based on the rules because single role, the methodology, like that is also again process automation that will discuss on the ongoing sessions. So any questions? So you will understand this diagram probably maybe after 2 or 3 or 4 sessions later. But again, I will come to this diagram. Why we need to integrate GRC to ECC development system. So I have a based on our discussion as of now. So if you observe this diagram, this is like a picture diagram which gives a high level idea how the BRM process will work. Event GRC system create role. So as soon as create role, then the GRC consultant will define the role like a create role, like meaning like a role name and description, everything. Automatically the maintain authorization. So this maintain authorizations and only the maintain authorizations will go to backend system PFCG screen. Once that is completed, then save and generate the role, then we'll perform the risk analysis. In case this is a single role, in case in the derived role, then we'll define the derived role like maintain arg values and everything. Then we'll request for the approval, role content owner or role designer approval. Verify the role whether the authorization values, arg values, and everything is maintained properly. As soon as he approves the request, then we'll generate the role in GRC system. Generate means there is a methodology steps that is should come to save the next stage. Then we'll upload the test cases. Then complete the role status is incomplete. Then only we will be able to provision the role to user. If role status is not complete, then it was not appropriately provisioned to the user. There is an issue. We will discuss this in the BRM issues. This is a simple diagram how whatever as of now we discussed, right? The complete stages. This is kind of a picture diagram. Shrikant, you got the question. Sorry, you got the answer. Like a request for approval. Yeah. Sorry, each. Yes, yes. Everything is automation. Everything is automation. These steps called role methodology steps. Yeah, we will initiate the role like a single derived or composite. Will will give the inputs. Automatically, will initiate the workflow approvals. So automatically, each step it will trigger to particular stage, and that particular task has been completed. Then it will move to next stage like this. And complication is there. So see, there are advantages like a a central repository. You and you can maintain constant name, right? Like define the role itself, single derived composite. You are configuring the role naming conventions. And since you are initiating grc repository, you don't need to re-import the role in the grc system, and it is available for provisioning to the respective system. Only it will, as per the standard mechanism, only one of the step it will go to backend system because it needs pfcg transaction in the development. See, since grc production system we were initiating the role, but ideally it should go to ecc development or srm development or any of the development system only, and update the or maintain the authorization. As once that is generated, then again the request got closed, then it will comes to grc system for the next stage, perform the risk analysis. That is where the confusion, that is where the brm is powerful. As per the process, it is going to development system, but after development role created, the repository role will be exist in the grc system initiating the approval, but the actual role in the development system that needs to be manually moved to ECC quality system, ECC production system. So normal change management process. But rest of the other steps we were followed with email, but here system will send the auto notifications. Sorry. Mhm. Hmm. It's a one event. Like he will perform. Yeah. It will be a very interesting. If you are a system architect level or principal architect level, you can utilize BRM, then 90% of the issues will reduce generally. But there are like manual dependents and other issues. That is the reason companies will not prefer. But it is a very good. Like, everything will be logical. So it is not a physical concept actually. So logical, complete logical concept. That is the reason the product was not a success probably. Like you need to depend on complete this landscape structure. Then only um, your process will success. Otherwise, it will be a zigzag. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes, yes. Memory issues and performance issues. Definitely. Yeah, you will always keep this diagram in your mind, and will try to interact whatever the discussion. Then it will be very easy. But I'll repeat this diagram as soon as when it is required. That is the reason. That is also one of the reason we are not going to in depth for the BRM, because anyway this is not implementing in our landscapes and it is not required. But for a knowledge purpose, whatever it is required, then we will cover almost. Yes. Okay. Now, in general, so there are for a security perspective, we know single, derived, and composite roles. But additionally, GRC system has like a configuration wise, it has provided two additional roles: template based and business roles. But we'll discuss business roles and templates later. But overall, will give you five roles. We'll discuss. But I'll just give a difference. We'll try to we'll try to understand. We know the composite role level in the backend system. So how it differ and how it benefit if we use the business role. So generally, the composite role is a collection of single roles. For a business role perspective, again, it is also a collection of and consistent single roles and number of composite roles or combination also. But it is composite role is at the same system landscape level, whereas a business role we can utilize both a system specific business role for the single and combination, also different landscapes like a security consultant role. Security consultant is a composite role, but for a composite role level, it has user administration, role administration, swim reports, and basic authorization for printing SU53, like standard T codes. Like this, the role will develop collection of single roles as a security consultant, one composite role. Whereas a business role, we have a multiple systems. We have two choices. One is ECC level business role. Whatever the composite role will map to business role. Otherwise, the business role will develop for collection of ECC composite role, S composite role, portal composite role, HANA composite role. Will combine all the four roles and will create GRC level one business role, security consultant. As soon as we submit the request, automatically the role will be provisioned to across all the systems. and will get the access. Instead of 4 requests, will submit only 1 request. That is the advantage. So, yeah, the third point is we cannot different landscapes. It won't be possible for role will be different landscapes is possible in the business role. Also, for each individual composite roles, the physical entities, physical roles are exist. So BRM system, the role is only the composite roles are physical entities, but the complete definition in GRC system only that is a logical entity. So the tables are GRC system level. The tables are different. So you need to go to identify the role means you need to identify at a table level only. There is no physical entity exist. It's a complete logical system, logical kind of a programming in the GRC system. It can be imported file to our backend system, but it can only be imported only file for the business roles. And role methodology contain do not contain the maintain authorization. Like a maintain authorization at single or derived role only for the role methodology steps, whereas a composite role is just a collection of single roles. Business roles also collection of either a single role or composite role level, either one. So any questions? Probably it is complete theory, but concept wise it is very simple. You don't worry about that. Yes. So since we need to understand the concept, but finally we'll prepare one a role import file and we'll import into the system. So that will discuss once we understand the complete configuration steps, and um, we'll see how we are creating and how we are automizing the complete role management process. Then automatically we'll understand the business role concept. I think okay, we'll stop for today for the introduction. Then we'll start working on the pre-steps, pre-configuration. That means 4 steps for BRM will be better.